My name is Paula, and I'm a new mom. Welcome to We've Probably Been There, a podcast by First Moms Club, about how we really dealt and truly felt about everything motherhood. No BS, no judgment, and no advice, from us at least. Welcome to the club. This is a story of how and when we introduced solid foods to our infants and all the stresses and emotions that went into it for our infants and for ourselves as well. Solids is a funny story for me because with my first Maya at 6 months old, I go to the pediatrician's office and she tells me it's time to introduce solid foods to your daughter now. And, I'm like, okay, perfect. Let's, we'll do it. Everybody has to eat solids at some point. She gives me this paper with all the allergens and telling me you have to give her, peanuts, and you have to give her soy, and you have to give her all these stuff to make sure she's not allergic, and she needs to eat a lot of iron. So make sure you're giving her meat and make sure you're giving her legumes. Anyway, so overwhelming amount of information that's kind of, already giving me anxiety because she's never had anything solid in her life. She's only had breast milk. So how is that going to go? So we get home and I'm calling my friends who already have kids, and some of them did the baby-led weaning method, where you're giving your kids these like huge chunks of chicken and you're hoping for the best. Or you're doing purees and, but that also takes a lot of work because you have to puree like the whole kitchen. So I tried the baby-led weaning because I wanted to be kind of, I wouldn't say trendy, but I actually felt that if I didn't give her like solid food, big pieces of food, that she would never learn how to eat. Like she would never be able to eat solid foods if I didn't start with those big pieces of food. So I tried it. I gave her like the chicken leg and I gave her the big piece of bread and she would gag and then she like choked a couple of times. And it was just, every time we had a meal, it was just too stressful and I just couldn't handle it. So we did purees. My mom would make her purees. I would make her purees. We made sure we had all the ingredients inside and she was on purees for like a year, a long time. Went back to the pediatrician and she's, her weight gain's doing great. And she tells me, okay, so what is she eating? Is she eating, chicken? Is she eating all this big stuff? And I'm like, oh, well, it's actually makes me a bit nervous. So she's still eating purees. And my pediatrician was like, no, it is time to give her like chunks of food now. No more purees. Like she kind of made me feel like I was like hindering my kid. So I went home and I tried to find a new pediatrician because I felt like kind of like shamed. Like I felt like that I was being shamed for still giving my kid purees. Like I knew she was right. But anyway, with the second, it was much easier. She handled the big food. She didn't choke. It was just much, much easier. So that's my story about solid foods. Today I'm joined by Bianca, mom of 2, Melissa, mom of 4, and Francesca, mom of 2, to tell us their experiences and their stories with solid foods. So I don't know if it was as stressful as it was for me. Probably not. But
Paula, every time you start your stories, I'm like, what was happening in this woman's brain? Oh,
I know.
So
Tell me.
So my daughter is a similar age to yours. She's 3.5, and we started the solid foods a little bit early. It was a bit different though, because she was doing combination feeding from the get-go. So my mom was always like, a little rice pablum mixed in will help her sleep, blah, blah, blah. So she was kind of like, I was comfortable already with the idea of like adding stuff to her diet. So for that was like a little bit easy. And her transition to solid food started pretty normal. We started with like the Gerber rice pablums and everything like that, or the, I don't do a lot of research. I'm like, the box says it's for 6 months. The box wouldn't lie to me. And so I started off with things like that. And she took to it really well. And then I was like feeling really confident with it. And I was like, okay, like now I'm going to start giving her like cut up like super duper small things. Like she was good on purees. She would eat the purees, no problem. And then I cut her, I think it was like an orange pepper. So I cut up an orange pepper, like one little strip. I cut it super small. And she gobbled it up. She thought it was great. But I was maybe a little ambitious because she was like duck swallowing them. There was no mastication with her mouth happening. And like the result on the other side. So yeah, like that was like my introduction into like solid foods for my daughter was very much like, kind of just using the guidelines that are out there. I didn't really do anything too crazy. I was like a huge proponent of buying purees. I did like 1 carrot puree and I was like, this is the pits. I'm never doing this again. Pouches and like jars all the way. And I could never quite puree meat just right. So I'd always get that. But yeah, and so like some of the tricks I would do too for like my daughter, and I'm doing it now for my son, is like with the rice pablum, I'll do like homemade chicken stock instead of water, or like little soups. And now she's fine. She's chewing. She had a bit of like, he had more of a gagging situation than her. He rather, like him, I wanted to start early because he was growing so fast that I couldn't keep up with just milk and formula. So he started on little pastina noodles to start with like little soups and this and that. And he's still like big into pouches. We're starting on like puffs and crunchies and stuff like that. And it's been going really well. I mean, I don't think he's ready I gave him like a peeled carrot for his teething right now. So
how old is he?
He's 8 months.
He's 8 months.
He's going to be 9 months December 2nd. So call it 8.5 months. And he's ready for, like, he wants the solid foods. Like we had dinner with pizza. We went to a friend's house. There was pizza and he was like mommy, grabbing my hand, trying to get it. So I cut him a little bit of corners and stuff like that. So when he's interested, I'm happy to do it. But I'm just waiting for that second tooth to cut so he has something to chew it with. But yeah, so yeah, I was a pretty stress-free experience for me. Like kids got to eat. Here's some food, kind of thing. Like I would say I was stressed when I was like starting on like the more solid foods. Like I was like, is this small enough? Should I cut the grape one more time? Yes. Like you know what I mean. But I would always have like just like a cup of water ready, like okazu. And my kids were like pretty emotionally happy about it.
Why did you have a cup of water ready?
Because in case they started to choke or gag, I could like wash it down or try to wash it down. So like I always keep a bottle of distilled water. Ready to go. And that's something else my kids really love is like water. They can't get enough of it. You know, I asked my daughter, I'm like, do you want some apple juice? She's like, but maybe water, mommy. Okay. Like, so yeah, but I always keep water handy when I'm feeding the kids just in case. And especially like, so my husband comes home late. He comes home at 6 o'clock. I'm already in the middle of feeding my son. And like, God forbid there's anything, I'm alone, right? Like I can't make a thing of water on the fly. So I always just have it ready to go. But yeah, it was like I said, like, you know, it's just one of those things that was like, that's time. And off we went. And, you know, now they're like pretty good. So I don't know. Like your son's the same age. So I don't know how.
We did the same thing. We did baby-led weaning.
Oh, you did the baby-led weaning. Okay.
You gave the pieces of food, the big pieces of food.
I gave the big pieces of food.
Okay, so tell us how that happened.
I did not want to do
the purees
at all.
Okay.
I don't know why. I just didn't want it. To me, it felt natural to just give pieces of food. I guess
trendy.
I mean, that's...
Well, you called it trendy, but for me, it's not about being trendy. For me, it's more just about prehistorically who we are as human beings and where we come from. And obviously, I'm sure prehistorically people would crush food. It's super easy to crush food with a rock and stuff like that. But I'm sure they weren't crushing everything. So it's just like, we're human beings. We're meant to like eat solid food. So I read a book, a really great book, to prepare myself.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, I felt confident about it. Of course, it was a little stressful. I mean, it's the first time you're feeding a little infant at 6 months old, but it went really well. I remember him like not loving food, like eating everything. I mean, when they're 6 months old, it's not like
they're playing.
Yeah, that's it. They're playing, discovering. I remember him being super curious about food, and that felt nice. And I have 2 kids. Neither of them ever had a really terrible like choking experience. There was gagging every now and then. I do remember, but see nothing that I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that one time that he tried this food and like I never gave it again.
Nothing that scared you.
No, nothing that scared me. I do remember being really careful with the allergens, though. I remember being so stressed about that with my first one. And I had like my sheet of paper with the lists and the check marks and making sure we tried the fish like 3 days in a row and looking at stuff. But my second one, I remember trying the allergens and being alert, but I didn't follow like the process from the book. It was just, keeping an eye open at if there were any reactions and stuff like that. And luckily, I didn't have any situations.
I only had situations.
Yeah.
Melissa, tell us about you, and then I'll tell you about my situations.
So I have 4. I only really remember the experience of my first, because like the rest blur. But so for my first, I read a lot about baby-led weaning. I like read a lot of blogs, did a lot of research, and I wanted to do baby-led weaning. But I got a bit nervous every time he'd gag. So I ended up doing a combination. Like I'd put pieces on his tray. I never gave strips. Like it would be like pieces cut up on his tray, and I'd also feed him purees, and so he'd play with a mixture of both. And that's what we did. I didn't pay attention to any of the allergens. The only one I did was peanuts. When he was 2 months old, my pediatrician said, put some on your finger and keep putting it on his palate as early as 2 months old. So I did that, which was the only allergen I ever did. We're not meat eaters, so like I didn't have issues with pureeing meat. Like we're
but even raw fruit, like apples and stuff, you can like it's a choking hazard.
Yeah, I remember like avocado, and my mom was there. And my mom's like a big proponent of purees. So like when she'd be there alongside, she's like, I can't believe you're doing this. She thought I was like crazy for giving him, chunks of food instead of just purees. But I just kept doing a mixture of both, and we never had a choking experience to this day. So it was lucky, and I just felt comfortable. So
that's interesting.
I think that's what I did for the rest of my children.
I should try that with my son. So he's still like in the middle of learning that stuff. So maybe I'll give him some like chunks with some purees and see like if he veers one way or the other. I mean, he'll probably veer to what he's comfortable
with. You could even
put
like the bowl in front of him with the spoon, and if he feeds himself, if not, you could feed him, and then he'll play. Like I agree that I feel like before the first year, eating is just to learn textures and to learn their gag reflexes and it's like structure and all that. It's just it's an experience for them. So you keep giving it to them, and that's how I treated it, at least in my house, is just to help them learn.
Do you remember the messes? Because I don't think purees are very messy, right? But when you give...
you'd be surprised.
Oh, really?
Well, if you're letting them feed on your own, But my mother, who's like mess is like not allowed, then she was like, why aren't you feeding her? And I'm like, because she needs to feel the food. Like she needs to feel what she's putting in her mouth. So Maddie just, when she's done, she starts throwing on the floor. That's how you know she's finished her dinner. All done. And I'm like, okay, the messes are pretty bad. The spaghetti and tomato sauce.
Or the smearing, even the purees, if you give them a bowl, they smear it everywhere. The high chair, every crack. You'd have to bathe them out. Like we started just feeding our children naked.
100%.
Just in a diaper. Because even in the dead of winter when it's freezing out and like, the house is freezing, it's just
diaper and socks and that's it.
You wipe them down.
Straight to the bath.
For Maddie, though, I did give food, but the only reason I did that was because my sister-in-law gave me a really good app. It's really good.
Okay.
No, but like download it for your son.
Yeah.
Because it's called Solid First, I think.
Okay.
And it's an app, and you can type any food, apple, whatever it is, and it gives you per age how to slice it, how to cut it. Chicken, 6 months old, 8 months old, 10 months old, how to serve it. That was extremely helpful because that's what I didn't know how to do. And that made me so much more comfortable to know how to feed it to her, because if they're telling me how to feed it to her, then there's less chance of her choking on it. So the chicken, the grapes, is it in quarters? Is it in halves? Whatever. The raw apple, which is like a huge choking hazard apparently. All that. So that app really helped me. I was always checking, how am I going to feed beef to her? In little whatever. And per age, they would tell you how to feed your kid.
Yeah.
And that changed the game for me. Maya, just like a little story situation. I think you guys know this, but she couldn't eat eggs for a really long time.
I remember,
She wasn't allergic. She was
so happy
intolerant.
that she's done with that, because that was really a lot to consider.
So she would vomit like profusely until she had nothing left. Every time she had anything with eggs, cake, bread, pasta, whatever it is. And we didn't know, nobody could tell us. But anyway, it was really difficult. And then all of a sudden, one day, she just kind of grew out of it. But, and Madeline now, she's allergic to peanuts, but we're desensitizing her. So every month, yeah. So every month I take her to the hospital and they give her a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more.
So wait, how did you discover that?
She got like a huge rash. I gave her peanut butter.
Time?
The first time I gave her peanut butter on toast for breakfast, I sent her to daycare and she got like all red. She wasn't, anaphylactic or anything, but she did get all red. So I took her to the allergist. They tested her. She's allergic. They need to give her an EpiPen because she's allergic. I don't think she's ever going to use it. But now I think she grew out of it.
She did?
I think so. I mean, I took her to the hospital a couple weeks ago and she keeps tolerating the little peanut fine. And then the other day I was like, sometimes you're just like, I have a gut feeling. I'm like, I think she'll be okay this time, Matt thinks it's all mumbo jumbo, which is like, whatever. But I had a bit of peanut butter on my spoon and she wanted some and I gave it to her and she was fine.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Anyway, but yeah, solid foods was stressful. And the other thing that was stressful, I was telling Bianca earlier, was what should they be eating for their brain development, for their growth?
Yeah.
Like the pediatrician is shoving iron down my throat, legumes, meat. Infants don't want to eat meat. Like they don't like meat. I don't know about your kids, but my kids didn't really like meat. Yeah. Or like whatever, like meat was not a great.
Interested by it.
So did that ever stress you out? Like, am I feeding the right nutrients?
No, that doesn't stress me out.
That's just me then.
Wow. No, but you can't use me as the example.
Well,
because,
everyone said no.
Okay.
But also, for the first year, they have milk, right? Like they have breast milk or formula, so they are getting.
Okay, so maybe after
nutrients.
1 year old, let's say from 1 to 2.
Well, I was one of those crazy moms that gave my kids formula till they were 2 because they were vegetarian and they weren't getting.
Okay, so assuming they're not getting breast milk or formula.
Yeah, then.
No,
I would do different things to try and work in all the stuff that's important. Like I told you, I used pablum with chicken stock.
Yeah.
So okay, she's getting some protein there.
Yeah.
Also, the pablum's fortified with iron.
Iron, that's true. Yes, that's true.
So it depends what you're feeding them.
No. But I mean, like the meals, when they're 1 or 2 years old, it's like
I would feel guilty to be like, am I putting pasta on this dish again?
That's what I used to think.
Again,
Maya ate pasta for a year.
Yeah.
She ate pasta for a year because that's all she would. Pasta and meat sauce, I would try most of the time to get the meat. But a lot of kids like pasta. Your kid,
Of course, they love pasta.
Yeah.
It's the go-to.
It's everyone's go-to. Or sometimes I'm like, we'll make it different tonight. I'll make rice.
Yeah,
Fancy. I didn't get a lot of stress about it because she was in daycare, and I know at daycare she was getting enough food.
Yeah.
Even still, at home she'll have 3 bites of pasta and ketchup. At daycare, she has always a good breakfast. It's usually oatmeal or yogurt and stuff like that, so that's fine. But at lunch, I'll get Tessa had 2 bowls of rice and tofu.
That's
with
great.
Cucumber on the side and all her broccoli.
Perfect.
Okay, great. So
Yeah.
there was if it's just pasta tonight, that's fine because I know she had solid stuff at daycare.
Yeah, but you're aware. It's not stress wasn't the right word. You're aware of the intake of her nutrients.
I pay attention to make sure that she tries has a balanced diet. Yeah.
And on my end, actually, this is why I picked baby-led weaning as well.
Yes.
It's because I already eat quite balanced. I try to have everything from I don't know the proper words in English, I guess, but fruits, veggies, protein, carbs. I think that's how you build a plate, right? Dairy, exactly. So since I feel like I already eat quite balanced, I wasn't worrying exactly. And basically, our kids ate exactly the same thing as we did.
Yes.
Except if there was anything spicy, I would make that on the side.
Yeah.
But I completely cut the salt, right? Because we don't usually give extra salt to babies. I wouldn't cook with salt. What else? I wouldn't do a lot of adjustments, honestly, for the little ones.
Eat lettuce?
No.
A lot of times I'll do Mike and I will have a protein with a salad. I'll usually beef it up with cheese or with croutons or nuts or seeds or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not gonna give my kids like
No.
lettuce. Like, you know what I mean?
It depends if they have their teeth. Like if a child doesn't have their molars,
Mm-mm.
it's hard to chew lettuce.
Yeah.
But like my kids now, they're older. I mean, the oldest is 6, but they love salad. But I think like under
like 2, it's not.
tougher because they don't have the proper teeth.
So what would you give in place of salad? Or would you just do pasta that's
Broccoli.
vegetarian?
Well, no, they eat a lot of beans and rice and cooked, like you said, cooked veg. My kids love raw veg. Like, so even like a cucumber or a carrot, I would just cut it up very small.
Okay.
So it's like not too much the lettuce because I feel like the leaves can get stuck in their throat if they can't properly chew it. But like all the other more crunchy vegetables, like they're great, like grated carrot, grated apple, like
that's a good idea.
Great.
Grate it.
Yeah. That's apparently a good way to feed a younger child apple is by grating it.
Yeah.
Or cooking it.
Solid
Yeah,
foods.
or cooking,
Or
yeah.
solids, whatever the app is. Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
My kids now at snack time, when they come home, I now learn that they need a snack. Cucumber and hummus, and they both.
Oh, that's
Oh,
amazing.
yeah.
Cool.
That's
Yeah,
a
that's
staple at our
yummy.
house too.
Yeah.
And that's very high.
I'm
All
very
the
happy
good stuff.
about that. I know.
I remember being super careful with the allergens with my daughter. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take the peanut butter, I'm gonna mix it in with like the prepped pablum, and like she was kind of like, what is this stuff? And she didn't have an allergic reaction, so I was like, okay, now she eats it very regularly. I haven't done it for my son yet. It really. I'm sure he's fine. Like, we don't have a lot of history of allergens or anything, but it is something to consider.
Also, smoothies are a good one.
Yeah.
Smoothie, and especially if you're worried about what
Nutrients.
they're getting in their nutrients, like you can throw tofu into a smoothie with a bunch of fruits, and it's so neutral that it just gives them the protein and the healthy aspects, and it just takes on the flavor of the fruit. Or I remember when my kids were younger, I was big into green smoothies then, and I would give them green smoothies, and they loved it. So it's another great way to give nutrients to younger children is smoothies.
I have a friend who takes those smoothies and turns them into ice pops.
Yes, I do that every day.
Yeah.
I have on a daily basis tons in my fridge because they don't always finish their smoothies. So and then you give them an ice pop and they're overjoyed. It's like a new form, even though it's the same exact taste.
It's a textural change.
Yeah. In the middle of winter, they had ice pops today. Like
Ice pop for
That's
breakfast?
Exactly.
Ooh, there you go.
Exactly.
All right.
I always had trouble like coming up with creative things like that. I would read all the books, and there was like the chili with the corn, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And then once I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. They're not gonna eat that.
One of the things I did for Tessa was I made her meatballs. I would shred carrots and like cooked the spinach or whatever. I'd mix that in with like the food processor just to give her like that little extra boost of veg. She didn't know she eats it. I still do it for her.
Even muffins.
Yeah,
muffins. You
I did
throw
the zucchini
anything.
muffins.
Yeah.
Love those.
Yeah, they like
Zucchini,
those.
carrot, even spinach. You make them a green muffin. It's so
Yeah.
fun, but it's like you just put it in the blender with spinach and
And it's not just like snack muffins. You can also make meal muffins. Like I made meal muffins with quinoa before.
yeah.
And it's super high in nutrients. And he liked it.
That's cool. Meal muffins. That's probably like good for like picnic and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like, did all of these muffin things, you did them like when they were babies? Like, no, this was all like after a year plus, I would guess.
I definitely did it baby as well.
Oh, yeah, baby as well? Okay.
Yeah. Even little pancakes when they're babies.
Yeah.
You can mix whatever you want into a little pancake.
I tried a TikTok hack for my son. They did this thing where they like freeze a raw egg and then you slice
already
it.
is like
I
anxiety.
tried it. It didn't go super well.
What do they do to freeze the raw egg?
So you freeze the raw egg, you take the shell off after it's frozen, and then you slice it, and you make like almost like a baby sunny side up egg with like, and then you like fry it. He's not keen for egg. My daughter has like 2 soft boiled eggs sometimes. Like him, like he's like, no, I could take it or leave it. So I'm trying different things with him, but I tried it. It worked out okay. The hardest part is slicing the frozen egg.
Probably, yeah. I did do the pancake thing a lot. That's
Yeah.
true. I would make extra. I would do like a batch, and then I would just keep the pancakes in the fridge, and then I would just give it either as a snack or as a complement to a meal and stuff like that. That was really practical.
Just like regular pancakes? You did like the banana pancakes with extra stuff?
Anything. Like you could do spinach pancakes, banana pancakes. You could put oat in there. You could put tofu and whatever. Or you can do lots of like a crepe with like tons of eggs. And,
okay.
And so if you're worried about protein and you want to get eggs into them.
Yeah, I did a lot of French toast for the egg.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like that a lot. I should do that again. I forget. Like I do it and then I forget and then they eat the same thing for months.
You don't forget. It's that you did it and then one day she looked at it and was like, no.
Yeah,
That's maybe I guess it's off the menu. And you gotta...
I think that's what happened. And now I have to reintroduce. But I remember my kids, like they eat a lot of fruit and they always ate a lot of fruit. And I also, then I started wondering, well, a lot of sugar in fruit. Like, should they be eating so much fruit, you know? And
Is
then
that good for their teeth?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's how my mind works. But and my kids don't drink milk at all. They never wanted to drink cow's milk. But they eat
Do they drink non-dairy milk?
No, zero milk. Yogurt.
Oh, okay.
Nuts ton of yogurt.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sugar in yogurt.
But so what I used to do, because I'm a sugar freak in my house, like I don't I'm a maple syrup mom. Like everything is sweetened with maple syrup.
Yeah.
And what I do for the yogurt is I'd make like berries in a pan with maple syrup. Like I'd stew berries in a pan with maple syrup and blend that and mix that into the yogurt. So it's sweetened yogurt.
Wait, you have time to do all that with your business?
No, thank you. Me, it's more like, you want a yogurt? Here you go.
Like the ease of it. But if you make a big batch.
I mean,
Wait, do you make your own yogurt too?
No.
Okay. That's
not there. That's the next level.
No, Melissa's very good at making, like she's an excellent cook and she's very good at making her own thing. Yeah, no, I don't think I can. It's too much for me.
I get it. I understand.
Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your stories with us on Solid Foods. And we hope to see you again next time. Thank you for joining us on We've Probably Been There, a podcast by First Moms Club. Watch us on YouTube and Spotify, listen to us anywhere you get your podcasts, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Oh, and don't forget to visit firstmoms.club to get the responding podcasts with specialists giving tools and strategies on every topic. See you later.